Hey guys, welcome today to the Business Trap. And today we're going to be talking about fear and why it's stopping you in your tracks. I'm Alexander Lemos.
Carlos D.
And I'm Carlos M.
And right away, we're going to kick it off with our first question. Carlos M., when you hear the word fear, what comes up for you? What do you think this intangible thing is?
Yes, well, I want to give you the book definition, and then I'll tell you what I feel. The book definition for fear is an unpleasant feeling triggered by perception of danger, real or imagined. All right. And for me, when I hear fear, I just think being afraid of something that you don't know. For some reason, I think about the unknown, what hasn't happened yet, and just kind of being scared of what you don't know yet.
Yeah, and I think that the important topic here, why fear is so important, is because fear is stopping 99% of people out there from doing something that they could possibly do and they could possibly achieve. So the big question that I want to tackle is, how can someone out there overcome fear and actually take action in spite of fear?
Yeah. One of the things that comes up for me in terms of overcoming that fear is that I always imagine myself how I want to be in 5 years or 10 years from now. And it's very scary because I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to own businesses. And, chipping away at that vision every single day is uncomfortable because I'm coming from a place of vulnerability, right? So for me, it's really learning to be vulnerable, asking those questions even if they may seem dumb, and just moving in that direction anyway. Because if your end goal is growth, I mean, it shouldn't really matter to you if you're perceived as naive or dumb, you're learning. And so for me, it's being vulnerable and moving in that direction. But I'm curious, what does it mean for you, Carlos, moving out of fear? How do we move out of that?
So I have something very important for you guys to know. Fear is, in order to overcome fear, you need to be comfortable taking risks, right? And the way you become comfortable taking risk is kind of tricking your mind to being familiar with whatever risk you're going to take. For example, if I ride mountain bikes on the weekend, I don't know if you guys know that, but if I'm ever going to take like any specific jump out of a rock or something, I don't start with the biggest rock, the biggest jump. I start with a smaller jump. Then I translate to a medium jump, and then I go try that bigger jump because now my mind is familiar. So that level of risk for me becomes way lower as I become familiar with the path that I'm taking. And you could apply this with almost anything in life.
So I got a question really quick, and I'm going to pose it to the both of you. Let's talk about, the fear that I'm going through and its vulnerability. Being seen as a beginner, being seen as quote unquote dumb, let's say. How can one get over that, right? Being perceived as naive, of being perceived as really not knowing what they're talking about, but still wanting to move in that general direction. What advice would you give the viewers so they can move in that direction even though they have those sensations come up?
Well, I think this is what stops a lot of people from just taking any type of action, because we are all dumb out of feel, right? Nobody knows everything. So that's the first thing that we have to realize. We have to realize that we cannot know everything, and there's nobody out there that knows everything. Therefore, it's okay for me to be unknown or to feel dumb when it comes to something that I'm unaware of, right? Recently, I started troubleshooting a computer that I have no idea how it worked, right? One of a new system that I'm working with, and I had no idea how to work with this software. So you go in, and things that are obvious to someone that knows this software, like when I called for support, they were able to tell me, oh, you do this, this, and this. I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even see that there.
Yeah.
So it's like that happens to all of us. But if you let that stop you, you gotta let so many other things stop you. And like Carlo was saying earlier, the definition of fear says real or imagined. I think all fear is imagined because it hasn't happened yet. So if it hasn't happened, that means it's not real. Until it happens, is imagined. So, but fear is a real thing in your mind, because I remember, we were talking about mountain biking. 2-3 years ago, I got hurt mountain biking, right? And it wasn't something that I had not done before. It wasn't like I was attempting to do something that was more dangerous than something else. No, I actually had done other stunts that were more dangerous than the stunt that I failed at, and I got hurt. So, but as I was going into it, I felt the fear in my body, and I think that's what made it happen. That's what made me fail and get hurt, because I had that fear going into it. So I think this is what make so many people have failures in their lives, that if they approach something with the idea of, oh my God, I'm gonna fail, this is so hard.
I have a word for you. I have another word for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
The other one that, remember I spoke about risk. This is confidence, right? So confidence is almost the contrary of risk and also fear itself. So the main thing that you have to focus on is finding out a way to gain confidence at whatever trait you're trying to accomplish. Because once you have confidence, then you're no longer a beginner. You're no longer naive, right? And the way you gain confidence is by getting knowledge, putting in the work, doing the research, putting yourself out there, talking to people that are in the field that that know what they're talking about. And once you start putting yourself in those positions a little bit more, then confidence is going to start pouring in. And once you have the confidence, then you're able to take risks without thinking about the downfall of them.
And I like the analogy that you use with the mountain bike and the rocks, right?
Yeah.
So first you gauge the rock size and the speed and how you're going to hit it, but you ask yourself, can I firstly do this before you move on to that next rock? So it's a perfect analogy that segues into how do we get out of that fear block initially?
Right.
And I think it's right.
Something small, starting with something small, then going to something bigger, and then finally, being able to open restaurants.
Right.
Yeah. And I think knowledge, for me, the opposite of fear is faith. And what brings faith, to me, what brings faith is knowledge. It's knowledge that other people have done it. It's knowledge that it is possible. And like getting yourself equipped to be able to go through the obstacle. Because if you go unknowingly, unprepared, like if you don't have any gear on, when we talk about mountain biking, if you don't have any gear on, if you have not ridden bikes for a while, then you're gonna have that lack of knowledge, right? Lack of skills. But as you build upon the skills, the knowledge, you build confidence, you build faith. And really, I think that's what makes you just start taking action. And like you say, little at a time, you overcome that fear.
So I got a question for you guys. You mentioned, Alex, something very potent, and you said that fear lives in our head. It's almost imaginable, right? It's not reality. So when you, for example, let's say when people chime in and they say, oh, you guys are in the restaurant industry, that's a horrible industry because food is difficult, clients are difficult, and it creates this sort of fear that they pass on to other
restaurants
people.
fail all the time.
The restaurants fail all the time. So my question to you guys is, why do people create these narratives if they've never had experience in that realm, but they hold on to it as if it's reality? Why do you think people are like sold on their own fears and their stories?
See, I believe that bad news travels a lot faster than good news. And these horror stories of people that try to open their own thing and failed will travel a lot faster than these guys that have been doing and opening restaurants for 12 years and they're successful in opening more. Because it's all human nature. People like to talk about the negative, right? And that's, I guess, to warn others and to, I had a friend that was interested in opening a franchise, and he said that he consulted with a lot of their friends, and they all told him, don't do it. It's gonna be, you're gonna fail. And I asked him, why do you think that is? Why did any of them ever own a restaurant? And he was like, no. So I figured, he told me that it's because they're scared. But I'm not scared, he said. So he was, he's working with us to kind of open his own thing now. So those are the type of people that, for example, in our franchise program, we need people that understand that there's fear everywhere, but they have faith in themselves. They have faith that no matter how hard it gets, no matter the situation, that they will overcome and be successful. And in a way, that's the reason and the way that we have made it. I don't care what is thrown my way. I have the confidence in me that I could do the research, meet the right people, or do whatever it takes to take it to the next level. That's the amount of certainty that I have. Like I mentioned in the previous episode, whenever I have an issue, whenever I have problems, because we all have problems, I wake up with those issues and I go to sleep with those issues and I dream about those issues and I overcome them because they're at top of mind and they're my laser focus on to accomplish them.
Yeah. Wow. Alex, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that. That was awesome.
Going after that, but I just want to say that we all experience fears. I experience lots of fear. I'm sure you guys have fears. I think the question is not about experiencing fear, it's about overcoming fear and knowing that there's gonna be people that are unfaithful out there, because most of the people are unfaithful about things. You know, most of the people experience fear in lots of areas in their lives. So if you let other people's fear really become your own, then you pretty much, just fail at that point before you even get started. So
Yeah.
what you got to do is you got to overcome. Like to add on to the story that Carlos said, something that our friend did was that he went and actually, okay, let me look for somebody that actually has a restaurant, has experience in the industry, and talk to that person, because it's very different. You're gonna get very different responses, and he did, from people that actually have experienced something, and from people that are just telling you what they hear from other people.
But it's crazy how sometimes we know this and we still follow the advice of the people that have never done it, right? And it could be in any industry. I'm just picking on the food industry because
That's what we do.
I have the
That's what
founders
we
right
do.
here. But it could even be in something as like, I want to get into real estate. I want to be a real estate agent. And we already have people around us saying, hey, it's competitive, it's tough. But I love what you guys allude to. It's been done before. It's you know that there's a proven formula. You just have to kind of go out there, make those connections, gain the knowledge, and you can move in confidence slowly. But that's the kind of lesson that I took away from both you guys.
Yeah, I just want to end it with this, if I may. I don't know if you guys want to have something after that. Fear shapes your future, and this is very powerful. I truly believe in this. Whether you do something or you don't do something is because of fear, right? And usually, if the fear of doing something is you think it's negative, then you won't do it. If the fear of not doing something is worse than the fear of doing it, then you will do it, right? So you kind of level out the fear. And this is very important for people to understand, because we go about our day, just making decisions here and there, and every single decision that we make, for the most part, is rooted back on fear, right? It's rooted back on your emotion and how you feel.
And really quick, I just want to wrap up with this. I laugh because, I fitness is a routine for me, right? So I walk every day. I try to jog every day. And I feel like a part of that is because I enjoy it, but also
Why do you do it?
is because I'm afraid of, obesity, or I'm afraid of developing cancer cells. You know what I mean? And I sort of want to prolong my life because of that fear of death. And so it forces me to do and create these positive habits in my life. So it's crazy how it really ties back into every decision that we make.
Yeah.
Any closing remarks from you, gentlemen?
I also think it's crazy the way, like you mentioned, you could use fear to propel you to action rather than stops you from taking action. Like if you really think through for your future and for your future self, then you're probably gonna do the right thing, this in spite of fear, because the fear for the greater thing is gonna be bigger than the fear of not doing what you need to do right now.
Well said.
So I invite everyone to look ahead into the future, right? And put yourself in the future and where you're going to be at. And that would kind of let you know what decision that you should be taking today, because we all fear that worst outcome out in the future. But we have to think ahead in order for us to take action today.
Well, it has been a pleasure, guys. Thank you very much for joining us in the Business Trap. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.
Until next time.
Take care.